dear.
So, Karl, welcome on to Taba. Tell all, buy all.
No
Thanks
problems.
for coming on the show.
Yep.
Firstly, what I like to do is I like to just go right back to the very beginning, get a bit about your background, where you grew up, how you taken the path that you ended up on, and where we're up to today, Karl. So, if you like to tell us where you grew up and how school was and stuff like that, mate.
Yeah, no probs. But I've been thinking a lot about this recently. I did a talk, which I'll explain later, but I did a talk at my old school, it brought a lot of stuff back, which I hadn't thought about for years. But yeah, I was born in Wigan. We moved. I was born in Wigan. We moved when I was about 4. We moved to St Helens. I've been here ever since. Went to primary school in St Helens and went to Par High School, which is no longer there, just another school on there now. Come to the town school. I enjoyed school, I'll be honest. I look back, I haven't got many school friends left. Most of them have passed on or just moved away. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Did all right. And then came to leaving school. I did painting and decorating for a little bit. And I thought, that's going nowhere, that. Originally, I did apply. When I was at school, I applied to join the police as a cadet. And the cadet scheme got dropped, thanks to Mrs. Thatcher. But the cadet scheme got dropped, and I ended up looking for someone else. So I did painting and decorating for a couple of years. And then I just felt like doing something different. You know, your life's not going anywhere. That's what you feel. There's no future. So I joined the regiment, just joined the army on a whim, really. I didn't know much about the regiment, and I did that in 87 and stayed there till 2003. I had 16, 17 years. Happy times when I look back. I met my wife I'll tell you when I met my wife. Do you remember when Mikey Patson and Mr. Synod died?
Yes.
Yes. We had that memorial service.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the church in Warminster. On the camp. Like, it was that night. I went home that night and I met my wife. Just went from there, really. Just that was part of me thinking of getting out, really. It's just looking at other things. I spoke to Steve Jones about joining the police, and I worked out that if I got out when I did, I could have another 18 years of work, and get a full 30 years pension, which seemed to work for me. So that's what I did. Have you spoken to many in the police on your talks?
I've had 2 on, Karl.
Yeah. I've not actually watched some of them. I watched a couple, but the police is completely different in the fact that, I'll be honest, you see more. You see, certainly doing Merseyside, you see more and you experience more of how people are. So it was a massive learning. You come from the army where you're quite protected. To be honest, we're quite protected. Yeah. Everything's done for you. But when you join the police, it's not. You've got to re-establish yourself. And it's just amazing how people can treat each other. So that was a massive, massive learning curve. And then while I was still serving, obviously, what happened. I got moved away from the streets. I got moved from the streets and went into an office, which, in all honesty, was probably better for me because I was quite angry. And then I retired in 21, and that's where I am in a nutshell.
Yeah. So just going back to sort of school and stuff like that, it surprises me how many people sort of have that, just joining the army on a whim sort of thing. Because I mean, I done it to get away. I didn't leave school with much.
Yeah.
If anything, to be honest with you, but
fair enough.
It was an escape, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
See, when you decided to join the army, were you always going to go to RTR, or were you looking across different units?
Originally, my uncle Royce was a Marine. He was on D-Day, And he always used to tell us all stories about what it was like, and I fancied a bit of that. And then I went into the Marines office, the Royal Navy office, did some stuff there, and I went to the army. I went to the army recruitment office in St Helens, and I said, "Oh yeah, I want to join the Marines, but I'm keeping my options open. I want to join the infantry." And to be fair, the recruiting sergeant said, "Oh, you don't want to do that." It was snowing. It was snowing at the time. He said, "You're out in all this weather." He said, "Do the test, and we'll see where you go." And I just chose the tanks. To be honest, I didn't know much about RTR.
Yeah.
That came later.
Yeah, it's a fairly sort of local regiment, isn't it, for sort of Northwest and stuff like that.
For the Northwest, it was at the time. They called it the M62 regiment, didn't they? Because we recruited from basically along the corridor, the M62.
So where did you go? Was it straight to Bovey or junior leaders first?
No, I was 20 when I joined. So no, I went straight to Catterick as a gun. Because when did you join, David? Just out of interest.
I joined in 99.
99.
Yeah.
Okay. So was that at Honington?
Both Honington and Warminster, aye.
Yeah. Okay. So when you was in training, you'd just been a driver, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. You'd just been. You'd say your trade would have been driver, whereas with the aptitude tests, you got allocated gunnery or driving. Yeah. And I was originally gunnery straight away, and then you did your driver's course when you got in. But obviously, all that changed, didn't it? So, but yeah. That's the way I went.
How did you find sort of basic training? Getting in as a 20-year-old with a bit of life experience behind you, Cal?
Life experience. I was naive.
16 to 20-year-olds, isn't it?
Mate, you know what? I'll be honest, and I've said this. Hey, come here. I'm naive. I was naive at the time when I joined. I only grew up when I got to the regiment, in all honesty. Life experience, I've done a bit of painting and decorating. It's not much. But come on, you naughty little man. I trained a lot for it, a lot of fitness. So I joined with Al McFarlane, who I think he must have got out in about 2009. He was in the regiment as well. I think he was at Honington. But I knew him anyway. We just turned up at the station one day and he was there. "What are you doing?" So I'm going joining the army. "Oh, snap, so am I." And we ended up obviously together. But the basic training, I was talking to the wife about this the other day. I did a lot of fitness before I went, just to prep myself. So I find it the homeless sickness was a bit much at first, but I just looked at it in the mindset of it's a challenge, and we'll go from the next one. So once you're passed off, we'll go to the next challenge and just keep doing it that way. That worked for me.
Were you straight to Germany, Cal? Or were you Tidworth?
Once I'd done my gunnery course, yeah, straight to Hildesheim. 2 weeks off, I think, and then straight to Hildesheim. Yeah, that was an experience.
Yeah,
but I'll be honest, the first few months were quite difficult, getting to know people and this, that, and the other. But once you did, it was sound. It was great. Missed those years in Hildesheim. So yeah, it was just a learning curve, as they say.
So how long did you serve? Did you say, was it 17 years?
I joined in 87 and finished in 2003. I should have retired. Sorry?
2003.
Yeah, I joined the police in August 2003. So I left a couple of months before. I left when, in fact, you was all in the Gulf, if I remember rightly. You lot was in the Gulf when I left. There was only like me, Elsie, Dave Simpson was back, and that was about it. There was a couple of us there, and that was it.
Yeah. So everybody get trawled to Warminster, didn't they? Got to Honington, so there wasn't a lot of people cutting about them, was there?
No. Willie Finlay was there. Obviously, I think he was commanding the squadron at the time, to be honest.
Yeah.
The boss was away, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
Was in Iraq. So yeah, there wasn't many about. It was in all honesty, Davey, it was nice just to go. You know what I mean? It was nice just to not make. I'm not one of those that makes a fuss, so it was nice just to fade away, if you mean, and just move on to my next stage of my life.
Yeah, I think what Warminster before that was really, really busy as well, wasn't it, Carl? We were constantly on the plane.
Well, yeah, I remember
5
you was
nights
my
a week.
driver a couple of exercises, yeah. Mate, do you miss the army?
Yeah, but I'm still fresh out. I miss it, yeah.
Okay, so this is something that, like, I've had, somehow it's been 21 years since I left. I do, but I only miss the busyness, like Warminster, the Castle Martin stuff, the firing. I just miss that. I don't miss the rest of it.
The bullshit.
Yeah, I miss the actiony bits, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. It's like I've been out probably 3 years now. I've been out. From UTR, and I joined the reserves up here as a full-time reservist as well.
You did?
Yeah.
You still in?
So I'm still doing the reserves, yeah.
Yeah.
So I still do that. So I miss RTR.
Well, it's fair enough. People say that you've got to bear in mind, yeah, you miss. It's like I didn't miss the camaraderie, shall we say, because I'd moved straight into something else, another discipline service. He's just being a pain, this lad. I joined another discipline, well, sort of discipline service, and in all honesty, you saw most of those people more than your family because you were there working shifts. You know, you were doing 3 shifts. So you had that bit of camaraderie there as well.
Yeah. So was your plan when you decided to leave RTR? I know you said you spoke to Steve beforehand. Were you always going to go straight into the police at that point then?
That was my plan. Yeah, that was. I'm not gonna slate the regiment as to why I got out, because it's not. I was a bit bitter at first, but I'm not. I'm not. That's gone. That went years ago. I realised I made the right choice. The choice was sort of. I was mulling it over, and I had a meeting with the CEO, and it just sort of made me mind up for me. So yeah, I spoke to Jonah earlier, and fortunately at that point they were actually recruiting Merseyside. So I went and sat an exam and I passed, fortunately, and just went from there.
So that transition, because like you said it earlier, the transition for going for the army, where by all accounts we are protected. You know, we get everything done for us. We've got a time there. Decisions are made for us a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But then you're on the front line where you've got to make split-second decisions in a new role. Very high profile public service roles you've done there. So that transition, how did you find that initially?
Exciting, good, great. We was used to making decisions, weren't we? So you found that as a bit of a bonus. So it was quite that was quite easy. And it was exciting because you constantly, the army's great, don't get me wrong, and I would never change of what I've done, if you see what I mean. But it's more fast paced, like you said. It really is. You're constantly going from one thing to another. And you literally have to think on your feet. And it's good. I found it really, really good. You burned out at times, but you know, it was good. And then it all changed when there was a change in government, shall we say. It went a bit downhill then, and I found myself from about 2014 wishing that my time would go to 2021. So those few years up until Daniel went, I just wanted to leave because it wasn't the same job as when I joined.
Right.
Wasn't at all. And I think a lot of people will say that it used to be great. You could fly around, you could go around, you know, stopping people, doing things, and then it just all changed. When it was just barriers threw up, some for good, some for bad.
Yeah.
I was doing CBRN as well. I was a CBRN instructor as well. So I was there from the inception. Me and Jonah were there from the start of Merseyside. So yeah, we were busy with that as well, which was good.
So I'm assuming sort of 7-7 happens, and then your job at CBRN kind of bangs out the way, you know?
But training wise, yeah,
Yeah,
CBR, it's one right. The police it's like anything. It's you're short of staff a lot of the time. So giving people to go and do CBRN not training, but doing it permanently as such, they won't do it because in the people's eyes up above, oh, it's one of them things that'll never happen. Do you know what I mean? That's the way it's looked at. So no, it was just kept training. I did a lot with Joan and the fire service, and multi-agency stuff with him, which was great. But I stopped doing it after what happened to Daniel. I sort of started doing the school. I found myself torn between CBRN, teaching in schools, and work, and I thought something's got to give. It wasn't going to be work, and it wasn't going to be the schools, so it had to be something, and that was what I just gave it up in about 2018. I just didn't have time.
yeah. Obviously, you street bobbing in Merseyside. How was that? You meet a lot of good people as well as a lot of.
Yeah, you'd say you meet more good people than bad people.
Yeah.
I think again, the youths these days are a lot different to when I joined. I didn't join, 2003 is not that long ago. Well, you know what I mean? It doesn't sound that long ago.
Yeah.
But the youths are probably a lot more streetwise than most of the bobbies these days, especially younger in service ones. So I just sort of feel for them because, sometimes they can tie you up in knots. With some of the stuff, they're quite quick. But no, the ethnicity and everything about where I worked in Liverpool South, so Toxteth, Dingle, around that way.
Yeah.
Speak, Netherley. A lot of ethnic diversion there. It was a learning curve. Really good though. But I enjoyed it. Enjoyed my time, apart from, like I said, the last few years, shall we say.
Yeah. I think, like you say, there's always change, and it's just sometimes.
Change is good, but for the vast majority of time, people are, how can we say, hesitant to change. So it is what it is.
So, I'm going to touch on what happened to Daniel now, Carl. That's all right with you.
Yeah, no problems, mate. It's
how that affected you when you were policing at the same time as well.
Yeah, Daniel was 29 when this happened. I'd known him since he was 11. When I met his mum, he was just started senior school. He was at Carly, so I'd known him for most of his life. He didn't really know his dad as such. It's another story. I don't want to go into that, but it was a weird. But we got on. He actually called me dad for some strange reason, but which I'd never pushed him to do that or wanted him to do that. If that makes sense, I was just happy with getting on with him, and I treated him. Bear in mind, I was a recruit instructor at Winchester, so I was sort of used to speaking to youths and things. So I sort of treated him as one of us, an equal, if that makes sense. Like one of the lads in the regiment, just treated him as an equal, and it seemed to do the trick. But I think that might have just been natural. So we never really had any bad words. So I did think of him as mine, but he did a lot of fitness and martial arts and things which again, when he explained, that was what took me by surprise, really. It was the 1st of September 2016 I came up. I always have to go through this when I do my lessons, but I came home, spoke to him. He was at the door. He was on the door. We had 2 dogs at the time. They were both his from a previous relationship. So we spoke. I went and picked his mum up, came back, and it took me a year or so after to remember this bit. Well, we all had tea that night. We all sat down and had tea, which, apart from Christmas, we didn't really do. Who does? I was working shifts. He was working shifts, so we didn't really do it, but we did that night. I was going to bed. I was up. I was working in Liverpool, so I was up early. I was up at like 5 the next day. I was on a day shift, and I spoke to him. Said, "What are you up to tonight?" I said, "I might be going out. There's one of the lads' birthdays." Okay. Actually, we sat here where I'm sat now. I said to him, "Look after yourself. Be careful. I'll see you tomorrow." I always said that to him whenever he was leaving the house, or if I was leaving, look after yourself and I'll see you later. So anyway, I went to bed. His mum came up slightly later. Now, on the 2nd, at 4 o'clock in the morning, there was a knock on the door. Now, from my point of view, that's what the police do. We knock on doors at that time, so you know yourself, right? Immediately, it's not going to be good. This he's either forgotten his key or something's up. I thought it might be my mum because my mum's still here. I thought something's up with my mum. Looked out the window and I seen two of Daniel's mates stood at the door. Right, okay. See, it sounds stupid, but you sort of go into professional mode, if that makes sense. With your experiences, you sort of go down that road straight away and start thinking there's a lot goes through your mind. So I race downstairs, right, lads, what's up? What's wrong? You've got to come to the hospital quickly. Daniel's been stabbed in the neck. Right, okay. Again, a lot of stuff. My priority was Linda, my wife. I didn't think about myself, which I still don't really. But my priority is my wife. Those two were really close, Daniel and her, as you would expect.
Yeah.
I didn't tell her. I knew straight away that he'd gone. That he wasn't going to pull through this. Our experiences will tell you that it's very rare. Okay. And I've seen people stabbed in the neck at work, in the job. Seen a lot of more death than he should do, really. But I'm not going to tell the wife that. I just said he's been injured. I just had to lie. I just said he's been injured. We've got to go to hospital, which we did. I had to stay. Linda went with the lads. I had to stay because at that point, police came. The girls were going ballistic. So it was just absolute bedlam. Linda, she phoned me up and said, "You're going to have to come. He's gone." No problems. I had an inkling. But I shooed the police out, sent to the girls, made sure they was all right, and then set off for the hospital. But it's like anything. A lot of things go through your mind when you're going. And I'll be honest, some of them I wasn't proud of, but, why has this happened to us? How Daniel could look after himself? How does he let some scrote do something like this? Revenge. That one popped in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what you want, isn't it? It soon left when I remembered stuff and thought, no, you've got to be strong and you've got to be spot on for Linda. But again, biggest one that did was how am I going to afford a funeral? Because a lot of money, and that one popped in. I'm ashamed to say, but it's natural, isn't it? All these things go into the hospital. I got to the hospital. There was a lot of people there. A lot of people. I always estimate it was a good 150 people there. A lot of people. These were all his mates, well-wishers, people that come to try and help, which I'll go on to later because that's obviously what I do want to do. I went in, spoke to them. It was all outside. I didn't really speak to them much, but my priority was the wife. I went in and Linda was remarkably calm, in all honesty. She was really, really calm. And she sort of is to this day. Don't get me wrong, she'll break down occasionally, but her body, she's completely changed because her body is working at 100 miles an hour, trying to forget what's gone on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's now classed as disabled through post-traumatic stress, bizarrely enough, because of what went on. She shakes. Her memory is absolutely horrific. You can tell her something, and 2 minutes later, she's asking you again, "What was that?" It's just things like that. She can't work. She can't hold a job down. So that's the toll it's taken on her. But she was remarkably calm. We just sort of milled around the subject, really. We didn't say much, but it kept us waiting for ages to see him, which I get because it was a murder. We were let in to see him. I briefly mentioned before, I've been around quite a bit of death. I've seen people die on before you joined on Salisbury Plain and little things like that, and you've seen your mates go. And I've been around a lot of death in the job, but that was completely different because you can't deal with those things. You know yourself, you deal with it in a certain way. Whereas you put it to the back of your mind and you just get on with stuff because it's not very manly to talk or show your feelings, is it, in the army? And it certainly isn't in the police. So, I found that difficult. But again, I'll be honest with you, David, I'm in a position where my wife is my priority and I don't think about myself again, which is why I've sent her away for a few days to a spa to relax for her birthday.
Yeah.
That's all I can do to try and get her to relax, give her a break from the dog and stuff like. She's the priority for me. But yeah, I saw Dan. Seen Dan. I still suffer to this day. Every Friday morning, I wake up at 4. I have to tell the students, the high school students, this every time I do a talk, which again drains you and takes a lot out of you. The one good thing about it was I didn't need to worry about things as in, how can you say? Or you think about what they're going to say about Daniel, what's going to come out. And to be fair, nothing bad was said about him. The amount of people that helped us was unbelievable. Most of St. Helens helped. Well, I'd say the vast majority of St. Helens helped, and the surrounding areas. The regiment helped. Murph, I can't thank Murph enough for what he did. I'm ashamed I never got a chance to thank him. I just didn't. So if he ever watches this, he helped me big time, and Dean Owen as well. Dean Owen did a bit for us as well. So there was a few people there that really helped us, and they did a lot of fundraising. There was quite a lot of events and things. So we went through 2 trials. Where at the end of the second trial, he walked out of court laughing. The guy that did it. Have you ever been to court, David? I hope you haven't. No, it's part of the job for us. But yeah, I had an unquestionable faith in the law and the system to help you. Being a victim changed that. Right. Yeah, it's the justice system is completely biased in the favour of. I'm not mourning at him. You'll never hear me have a go at that lad, because the system his barrister used the system and he got off. And it wasn't because he was found not guilty. It was because 2 trials, 24 people couldn't make a decision. Yeah. Split jury, hung jury, 2 hung juries. He couldn't decide whether it was murder or manslaughter. So at the end, he wanders out on a technicality because they won't give you a 3rd trial, which, I understand. But there's a lot of things went wrong with the trials and life.
When that happens, Carl, and you're still a serving policeman at the time, how does that make you feel about the job?
I've got no complaints about Merseyside Police, mate. Merseyside Police did everything they could, and I won't slate them because there was to be honest, they went above and beyond for me and my wife. They were really, really good.
I don't mean that. I mean, in terms of, did you still feel that it was worth trying to catch criminals in that case? Because if there's technicality...
I got moved to the office. I got moved to the crime demand unit, which is you're in an office and you dealt with basically when you phone, right, Davey phones up and somebody's put my window through, right? Okay, you won't see a bobby, you won't see anybody come out to you. Somebody's got to deal with it, so you'll get a phone call and stuff, and a bit of reassurance, shall we say. There won't be an investigation, so it's left to somebody like myself to just give you a phone call to just say, yeah, I feel sorry for what I'll do. I'll get you neighbourhood support, that sort of stuff. Okay, there's your crime number. Claim on your insurance. In its basic terms, which actually was good because it took my mind off stuff. It did, because I was constantly using my brain, having to think about the law and stuff. It took my mind off things, which was great.
Yeah.
But for us, we were let down by the system, as in the Crown Prosecution Service, not the police. The police go out, they catch people, they get the evidence, and the evidence was there to convict. But the Crown Prosecution Service, that's another story. That's where most of my anger is, well, not most, that's where all my anger is directed. For me, they didn't do enough.
Yeah.
What can you do? We try and change things, and we have tried. One good thing about it was that they seem to have learned from what happened to Daniel, and the same thing has happened a couple of times now, and the person's been found guilty. So I like to think lessons were learned in a way.
Yeah,
you see what I mean. So that's where our anger lies, really.
Yeah, and you've got a foundation going now, so
right.
That's.
I mentioned to you before, all those people helped us, most of St. Helens. They must have raised about 50,000 for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I didn't need to worry about paying for the funeral, because Daniel was really popular.
Yeah.
He was, and it was heartwarming. I think we give a lot to charity, to dogs charities and stuff, because Daniel was a big animal lover. But I was in I would say it's not a fortunate position, because it's certainly not, but I was in a position where I could give back because of my life skills. I was an instructor in a lot of things. I was an instructor in the police because it was just something I find naturally to do. So I come up with a package, shall we say, of how to interact with kids, with primary school students, year 6 and up above. So I have a couple of different presentations, and I'll go in and I'll tell them about, picking up a knife is a choice. It's not something that you're forced to do. You make that choice. You say yes. So it's just explaining that to them and explaining little bits about the law in layman's terms, so they know, what can happen and the effect it can have, in the fact that we call it the ripple effect. Yourself, every decision you make has a consequence. I left the army, I left a secure job. The consequences I joined the police, and I got another pretty secure job. But it was a touchy time as to whether you're going to get in, but you've made that choice. When that lad picked up that knife that night and went out, it's not just him and Daniel who was affected. Do you know what I mean? It was us, you. I'm sat here now talking to you about it. You're part of it. Everybody I speak to in schools is all part of this because of that one choice that lad made that night. And I try and explain that to the kids. It's not just you and them. It's the easiest thing in the world to lose your temper. It's the hardest thing in the world to not lose your temper, if you see what I mean. And that's what it's about, ultimately. Keeping your temper and doing the right thing. But, you're never going to have 100% success rate, but anything's better than, there might be that one person who's teetering on the edge, maybe.
Yeah.
Being bullied.
Do you find talking to the kids, does that help you in a way at
Primary
all?
school does.
Yeah.
Primary school. I'd never done anything like that before. Obviously, 11-year-olds. That was a bit. The first time I did it was daunting. Primary school kids, you never lie to a primary school child. They know. They can see into they can see into your soul. I always say. I enjoy those because you can have you don't tell them what happened. You just go into. I have a set system with the primary school kids, and we do it all about decisions, choices that they make. The choices that they make now will affect them for the rest of their lives, that sort of stuff. So we do it about the decision-making process. So there's a bit of reassurance, the risks and the consequences, resilience, saying no, speaking to people, and responsibility, because we've all got responsibilities. And we just break it down into those 4 areas and discuss it surrounding knife crime and the choices that they make and how it will affect the rest of their lives. And it's good. That is enjoyable. The high school stuff, that's where you get quite tired because you've got to go through what happened. And, you're generally doing it to big audiences as well. So it's a bit tiring.
This going to sound probably a daft question, but the kids ask you questions while you're doing it. They try that, yeah.
Yeah.
Some kids, and I can imagine some of the questions are probably daft, but
primary schools, they want to tell you about their experiences, a lot of them.
Right.
But you never, what can be an hour lesson normally takes an hour and a half, hour and 3/4, because they just don't stop asking questions. And I don't like not taking questions, because it could be the difference between them doing something daft and, making the right decision. So I don't like not taking questions. You find in high schools, year 7, year 11 will ask questions. Year 8, yeah, maybe. Year 9, no, it's not cool to ask questions. And year 10, you're not going to hope. They just won't ask. They won't speak. So you just give it a do that military thing. You point at them and ask them. Just get them speaking. It's an experience, shall we say.
So you just the Northwest in Carl, or are you branched out across?
It costs, David. I do the schools in St. Helens. We don't charge, because I never would. It's sad that it's come to this, and we never used to, because we was in receipt of government funding. Well, that stopped. I get calls to go to, I've been to Oldham, Stockport, a few other places. Even we've been asked to go down south and do stuff, but it just costs.
Yeah.
I'm a poor pensioner. I can't really afford to go and, a hotel room down south. It's just, I'll do it, but if you don't mind giving us a donation, you know what I mean? So the donation to keep us going, we just get put into the foundation account. But I've done a few bits and bobs outside of St. Helens.
I suppose it's a bit that people don't see into the cost of travel. I know that's not what it's about. I know that.
No, I know. That's what
still, there's added costs and stuff like that to it.
I don't like saying that to them. You know what I mean? It's God forbid it should become about money. For me, it's not. It's about spreading the message. It's not even about Daniel's name. People start foundations and stuff to keep the names out there. It's not about that for me and the wife. For us, it's about paying these people back that helped us.
Yeah.
Bizarrely enough, I've got something coming up in August, end of August this year, which again, members of the regiment are helping. Andy Maddox from the got one RTR, Alan Hodges, Jonah. We're going doing a couple of us are going doing the Cumbria Way, starting at Ulverston all the way up to Carlisle. They've given their time. We were doing it in 5 days, culminating in the day that Daniel was finishing on the day that Daniel was murdered. So hopefully trying to turn something negative into something positive. We're doing it to raise funds for trauma packs that are put on the, like defibs, they're put on the wall so they're accessible for. They was originally called knife packs, knife safe packs, but they're not for that. They're for basically just to save somebody's life. If some little old lady's crossing the road, gets knocked over, chances of getting an ambulance these days are, poor. Yeah. So one of those could be the difference between life and death. So it's just to get some of them, really get the funds to buy some of those for the town. So,
I've seen them dotted about the place these days, Cal.
There are a lot in Liverpool.
Yeah.
Yeah, the council paid for them there and put them on the walls, but our council won't do that.
Yeah.
So I'll take the bull by the horns and do it myself.
Yeah, fair enough. Let me know when that's happening, mate. I'll certainly sponsor these on that.
Yeah. I'll put it online. We're going live beginning of April because Maddo's been doing someone else. So we'll go live beginning of April. But the regiment they're giving us rations and things, as well, which will help.
Go back to rations, Cal.
Well, it's John O. John O's sorting it out for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I messaged him before. So yeah, no, that will help, even if it's just, just we'll take them on the move and have something while we're moving, that sort of stuff. Because it's like 15, 20 mile a day.
Yeah.
Gonna do it's normally low valley stuff, but I'm looking at doing the higher route. So you go over a few peaks just to make it a bit more interesting, depending on the weather. Yeah, and then I'll see where we go from there.
Happy days, Cal. So, just finally on the foundation, is a plan just to keep that running through schools for as long as possible?
I'll always do stuff for people. Obviously, age, I'm 57 now, 58 this year. Comes a point where it's going to be, I'm not going to be fit. I'm not going to be able to do it at a certain point, and there's nobody to take it over. And in all honesty, it's hard work. Well, it's not hard work. It's getting people to book you. We have a select few schools, which a lot of primary schools will book us. But there's some high schools that are steadfastly against it. So it's difficult. It's like I got asked to do Liverpool College, to go and speak at Liverpool College. Well, it's not. There are people in Liverpool that already do it, and they say, "Well, look, it's costs and this, that, and the other." I go and do Wallington College, but I can't even get a booking in my own college here in St Helens. You're up against things. Yeah. So at some point, it's going to be a case of the bookings will probably dry up. But we'll just wait and see. We'll just wait and see how it goes. And it's one of them. Just take it day by day.
Yeah.
So just keep working.
Well, Cal, probably a good place to end.
Yeah, mate. No, you're working or something, aren't you? You're working today?
I'm away later on today. Yeah.
Right.
But no, look, thanks very much for coming on and being so honest, Cal. It's obviously a tough thing to talk about, but thanks for sharing, and hopefully,
yeah, no problem.
We can get it to people and people understand that it's not just one victim. There's lots of victims.
It's a choice. That's the way I always look at it, mate. It's a choice.
Yeah, it's a good way then. It's a choice, but we'll certainly get this out there.
Okay, no problems, mate. It's a pleasure speaking to you.
And you, Cal. Thanks very much.
No problems. It's been a while.